All right, let's talk about a lesser known slasher, very unknown. I didn't even know about it until it was brought up. It's free on Tubi to watch in case you haven't seen it and you're wanting to check it out. It's on Tubi, and yeah, I was told to watch it from my wonderful patron. And did I like it? Let's find out. So, this movie is about people getting these, high school girls, these majorettes, getting picked off one by one, and there's an investigation going on, kind of. And there's also this other thing going on with this nurse who wants to get this old lady and her granddaughter killed for money. And yeah, there's a couple of different things going on here. The first half is the slasher movie, and the second half is like this revenge action crime thriller. It goes all over the place. This movie, what's interesting about it is who's behind it. The writer of this movie is the writer of not Return of the Living Dead, Night of the Living Dead, and he even has a cameo in here as a coroner. And also, we got the preacher in this movie. He's the brother in Night of the Living Dead. They're coming to get you, Barbara. That guy. And then the director of this movie, I read, was, in that movie also, right? And he's the director of this, plays a cop in here also. And he was a part of Night of the Living Dead. So there's a lot of connections to Night of the Living Dead from 1968 in here. So I thought that was interesting. Nothing about this movie is interesting, but behind the camera, I thought all that shit was interesting to see who made this movie. And so, yeah, let's get into the things I like about it, though. Uh, if you know me, you know I like cheesy 80s title cards. When the title card popped up, it got my hopes up. And I was like, all right, this is good. This is 80s as fuck. And then you got like the baton thing going up and down during the credits. I thought that was really silly. And then the whole opening, like 5 minutes, is just half naked girls and just dancing. And then they go to the locker room. They're taking their tops off. So we got lots of nudity in here, lots of beautiful ladies. So I was on board in the first 5 minutes. And I did like where the third act went. I think the third act is really the best part of this movie after the first, 5 minutes. The third act, when it completely shifts gears into a different genre of film entirely, because the first two-thirds or first half is like a slasher movie, and then it goes in a completely different genre, different path, and surprised me, really did. So I appreciate that. It went in a completely different direction and made it more interesting because the slasher part of this movie is so just lifeless and dull and boring, and I didn't care for that shit at all. It was just very mediocre at best. And the ending shot of this movie is hilarious. I just love the way this movie ended. Just the last shot of the movie, I was just laughing at it. But yeah, that's really all I can say positive about the movie. It's just the opening 5 minutes I liked, the title card, and then where it went in the third act. I thought that was kind of interesting. So, and different for a slasher movie. Now, the negatives is everything about this movie that's a slasher. I think it's just a weak slasher. The kills are very boring and lame. It's all throat slashings. And the effect looks decent, but it's not very bloody or anything. I'm also not a fan of the way the slasher villain looks in this movie. It kind of reminded me of the Prowler. He's got like a bunch of army fatigues on, camouflage. Kind of wears like a hood over his face. Just didn't care for the look of the slasher. And also, I didn't care for the whole mystery whodunit thing in here. They give you, I think, like 2, 3 red herrings, and they're like the very obvious ones, so it's like it's not this person, it's not this person. And then there's even one moment in the movie where they kind of give you a good look at the killer, like the side of the face, so you're like, oh, now I definitely know who it is. It was just kind of obvious. I didn't really think the mystery was all that well written or intriguing, so the whole mystery element to the slasher story here is not that good. And the music I thought was awful also. I didn't like the music. It was jarring at times too. Just really took me out of it. The acting's pretty weak, and I think the weakest actor in this movie is the lead character in the second half. And that's another interesting part of this movie is that like our main character we don't even know is really the main character until we're over halfway through the movie. Because the first half, it's playing out like a typical slasher, and we don't really see much of this guy at all, but then he becomes the main character. And I'm like, I don't even know who this guy is. He's just like, what, the quarterback, the douchebag, and he's kind of a pussy. And then finally becomes like fucking John Rambo towards the end. It's just, I didn't care for his character. I didn't like any characters in this movie overall, really. None of them. I didn't care for anybody. Wasn't rooting for any of them. They weren't interesting. Just got this quarterback dude, and then everybody else is just cannon fodder. This movie really should have just picked a lane. It should have just stuck with the slasher story and made it a good one, or went with the second half of this movie and just made it all about that. Add a lot more of the mystery to it in the investigation. Like, they insert this detective character into the movie pretty early on, and we see him for maybe a cumulative like 3 minutes altogether in this movie. He's barely in it. I think he's banging one of the Majorettes, and then he really does nothing in this story at all. He solves nothing. He investigates nothing. He acts like he's about to start investigating shit, and he does nothing. Like, he's pointless by the end of this movie. There's even one scene where he shows up, and it's the last time we see him. He shows up to finally start doing some of his work, and then the cop's like, I already did it for you. And then that's it. That's all we see of him. So it's like, this guy should have been a major player in this story, and he does nothing. So the whole investigation subplot that's going on is just fucking weak. So final thoughts. Sorry, Patron, I did not like this movie. I'm not sure if you liked it. I forget what you told me. I think you told me you did like it, or you just thought it was cheesy and you liked it. I'm not sure, but I'm just giving you my honest opinion. I did not care for it. I thought it was very just mediocre at best. It's just not memorable. It's not entertaining. The mystery was not good to me. Of course, the acting's very weak. There's a lot of no names in here. I didn't recognize anybody in this movie. But it's just, if the kills were better, if the killer was better, if they just would have did one genre or the other completely, just pick one and stick with it, then I would have liked this movie a lot better. I don't think they should have shifted gears in the middle to a different genre completely. It just was jarring, the tones all over the place. I didn't care for this movie, so I gotta say, when it comes to the Majorettes, this movie to me was just wasted time. Spoiler discussion. So after the whole cool opening title card, we get all these girls dancing, and there's like a photo shoot going on for some reason. And you can see the whole time there's that creepy janitor. He's also got like Down syndrome or something. He's just watching creepily in the background. So he's our first red herring here. He's taking photos through a wall. He's taking photos through like the air vents, and there's like all these slits. But when we see his photos later on, you don't even see like an air slit, the vent in the photos, which is bullshit. There's no way he was able to zoom in far enough to like not have that in the view. Nitpick, but whatever. And then this photographer who's like this geek Tommy, he's got these umbrella lights and they're not even on, so what's the point? They're not even lighting the scene for him to take photos, and so he's just using natural lighting. So why bring your equipment? And so then we meet Helga, the evil nurse, and her son is the slow janitor, creep, pervert, and she's plotting to kill her patient here and her granddaughter once she turns 18, so that she can inherit $500,000 from her patient. But if this girl dies before she's 18, then she'll only get $100,000. So yeah, she's just a very evil nurse. And then so we got like this lover's lane thing going on here, typical scene in the slasher movie, and she's trying to get with the geeky photographer to convince him that he's the father. She's only going to bang him because she just found out she's pregnant from this biker douchebag. And so she wants to bang this dork and then tell him, oh, you're the father, even though she knows that's bullshit. But then she like retracts everything, like, no, I don't love you, just joking. I'm not into you, let's go. But then a knife goes through the roof, and there's like this delayed reaction. Like the knife goes through the roof and it's like sawing through towards her, and then she starts screaming. Like there was a very delayed reaction there, and I thought that was pretty funny. And then we get like this odd jarring jump cut, like when the knife's about to go to her throat, it just cuts to like the killer already holding her, and then he's like baptizing the body, which is fine. That's the killer's gimmick in this movie. He baptizes the body. It's kind of similar to some other stuff I've seen. It's fine. I mean, every killer should have a gimmick, right? And that's this one. He's a religious freak. He wants to baptize the sluts and save their souls, something like that. And then it like cuts to this other person being baptized, and the way it was done, it made me think it was a flashback. So I was confused at first. I'm like, wait, is this a flashback or is this happening now? But yeah, it's happening now. We've cut from the corpse being baptized to a little girl being baptized, and then we get our second red herring here with the preacher. So you always see priests being killers in these movies, usually like Splatter University. So I was like, it's probably this guy. But then we meet another red herring also, which is the sheriff, and that's the killer, the sheriff, because he's a freak. And then we meet this detective who's banging a majorette, I think, if she is. I don't know. All the girls kind of looked similar-ish, so I didn't know who was who. And he's got like this really stupid, girly, small bird tattoo on his shoulder. Just want to point that out. Thought that was weird. No offense if you have a small bird tattoo. It just seemed kind of silly. And then we get this horrible football field. It was just like the school has no funding. It's the worst football field in a movie I've seen since Prom Night 3. And like, there's no numbers on the field, nothing. It was just awful. And so, in the coach for the Majorettes, she looks younger than the Majorettes. Like, these are teenagers. They're like 17. They're just about to become seniors. And they look like they're older than me or around my age. They're not 17. And so we get like this prowler scene. If you're familiar with the prowler, you know that there's an awesome throat slit at a pool, and we got that going on here, except the effect, it ain't no Tom Savini effect. This girl gets her throat slit, and it's just like all the other ones. Lame. And so yeah, then we meet this biker gang, and they're the other red herrings. You know it's not going to be them, and they're the just dorkiest gang ever. Like they're not badass to me. They just there's no way. And like they're not an intimidating biker gang, you know. And so then we get this stripper with a snake. I thought that was interesting. I've never been to a strip club in my life, but I thought that was interesting to see that there's some strippers who actually have like these giant snakes around their neck while they perform. And this woman didn't even have a stage. There was no stage. She was just on the floor with everybody else. And another thing is that I thought it was funny that Mace, the leader of this biker gang, this guy, Jeff, the quarterback, he rats him out to the police like, hey, I think you should question this guy because he made this one girl cry a couple weeks ago and now she's dead, so maybe he has something to do with her death. He's like, bitching to his biker buddies about how he's innocent and that he's never killed anybody. And then in the same breath, right after that, he's like, and bitch, I will kill you if you don't, like, he's like talking about how he's so innocent, he's never murdered anybody. And then he like immediately starts threatening his new girlfriend's life. Like, I'm gonna fucking kill you. So that just made me laugh. Judy, this actress playing Judy, she obviously didn't want to show her ass or anything because when she gets in the shower, we see her take her undies off, but she has like the towel wrapped around her. So she's like slipping her undies off with the towel still wrapped around her. So you can't see anything. And then she gets in the shower and we see her take the towel off and she's clearly wearing underwear. And then, of course, she gets her throat slit. So, yeah, just another throat slit kill. And then I love when her body falls out of the locker, she falls conveniently like this so that we can't see her breasts. So, like, this actress did not want to show her body. So, but we saw, like, side boob, she showed that, but then she's wearing underwear in the shower, and then her dead body is like this as she falls out. Like, that's not how your body would fall. Like, it would be relaxed. Like, she would not be like, ugh, cover my boobs. And so, yeah. And then, for some reason, the sheriff, when he kills this one girl, he's maskless. That's, in order for the one pervert to catch him, he was wearing a mask. He was careful about that with the other two girls. But then with this last girl, he's not wearing a mask at all. So that was just reckless and stupid of him to do that. So kind of a writing convenience for the plot. because he gets caught. And then, the Helga, the evil German nurse, she's threatening, him, like, I got this picture, kill this bitch on her 18th birthday so I can get $500,000 after I kill this old hag, blah, blah, blah. But of course, the plan does not work because the biker gang kidnaps Jeff and Vicky, and she gets shot and killed, which surprised me. I thought, like, this is our final girl, right? Nope, she's dead. Like, it's just so quick and sudden, like, oh shit, like, she's dead, Jeff just got shot, and what's their motivation, really? Like, how dare you suggest that I'm a murderer, so I'm gonna rape her and murder you and her? Like, you're contradicting yourself. You're saying you're not a murderer. How dare you rat me out to the police and get me to be a suspect in this case? Now I'm going to actually commit some crimes here and kidnap you and try to murder you and rape this girl. And it's like, what's going on here? Like, this guy's retarded, stupid as hell. And then we get this whole revenge third act here where he turns into fucking John Rambo all of a sudden. Jeff, he just goes home. Luckily, his dad has a whole, like, closet of guns. He just grabs, like, an M16 rifle, goes off, starts blasting people away, lighting, towels on fire inside of gas tanks, and they explode. And then, like, when that van explodes, I thought it was kind of funny, just a little nitpick here, that the explosion was, like, so much that it, like, blew out the windows of the trailer, but not the windows of the car that was, like, 5 feet next to it. So if it was that, explosive, and it was that, like, powerful that it blew out the windows over there, it would blew out those windows too, don't you think? I don't know. Just a thought here. And so, yeah, Jeff, he turns into Rambo here, and then he shoots all of them down. Like, he mows everybody down, men, women, people who weren't even really there involved. He just shoots them all dead. And I love that the sheriff, who's the main slasher here, when Jeff's in a coma, he's like, I'm gonna get this kid exonerated because he got rid of that scum. I was like, yeah. I'm totally on his side, like, for killing most of those people, not all of them. Two quick little things I want to point out here. Vicky can't park to save her life. What the fuck was she thinking? When they first pull up to that school to do something, I forget, like, it seemed like that's how she intended to park, which is in the middle of the parking lot behind a car, not in the parking space at all. And then, like, when they see trouble pull up in that van, and they know who's in that van, that gang, the popular gang at that school, they know they're trouble. What do? Instead of, like, we're already in the car, how about we just drive off? No, the reaction is, let's get out of the car and just allow ourselves to get kidnapped. Just a weird scene, the way it played out. I didn't get it. It's like, what? What are you doing? Get back in the car. Anyways, and what the hell? That's how you park? Oh my gosh. Take this girl's license away. She does not deserve it. And then the other stupid little thing I noticed was the lamp in this movie. It looks like one of those things that you put, like, quarters in and you look through them. Like, that's what their lamp was. It was like, insert coin here. So is that how their lamp operates? You just put a coin in and turn it, and then the light turns on? I don't know. And so, yeah. And then this movie ends with the killer getting away. He kills Helga, the evil nurse, hangs her, makes it look like she killed herself, and then pins all the murders on her slow son. So I thought that was actually kind of cool. Like, how he did all that, it actually made sense. Like, it's believable that he would get away with it because the son was taking all those photos of the Majorettes earlier, so it all worked out for him. And then the movie ends with him looking at all these, like, 8 to 10-year-old girls, just all these little kids, like, the next generation of Majorettes. And he's just looking at them very, like, sinister, like, almost as if he's thinking, like, behave or I'll kill you. Don't be sluts. I'm going to slit your throat. Something like that. It was just hilarious. I was just thinking of all the thoughts that were going through his head, and it was just making me laugh. Like, oh my gosh. He's just staring at them like, behave. AC/DC was graffitied on the trailer, and I thought it would have been funny if they started playing Shoot the Thrill during that scene. It would have been perfect, because there was a shootout going on. Come on, what were they thinking? I guess it was a budget thing. But yeah, that's the end of the movie. What did you think about it? Let me know in the comments below. And as always, if you like what you've seen here, you can hit this like button and become a subscriber today just by clicking on my cartoon face in about 5 seconds. And until next time, Auf Wiedersehen.